Oh, this time on actual hump day.
Go. You're like, go where?
Go. It's time.
There's walls around me.
I'd run away if I could, but I'm always there.
That's what hopefully our audience doesn't think that. It's like those guys from the Muppets. My favorite line. How did we get here? Don't you remember? We entered a contest. We lost. So, dude, couple weeks until we go to Iceland.
I know.
I'm so excited. Iceland, Greenland, our 52nd state, soon to be.
Canada,
our 51st state. Newfoundland. Like a little Atlantic globetrotting here. So, You excited?
I'm extremely excited. These are all places I've never been before. I've always wanted to take a voyage by sea across the Atlantic. I feel I'm gonna like stand across the front of the prow, saluting,
Sure.
Whatever reason. There's always a good reason. But yep, I'm super excited. I'm super excited to be on the ship and take a lot of photographs of the natural beauty and eat local cuisine and eat other cuisine and keep eating and just what they say on the cruise. The chef, the head chef of, I can't remember which cruise line it was, said there is only one meal that we serve on this ship. Like, oh, okay, what, is it? And people were assuming he meant something symbolic, lunch is the most important, or dinner is. He says, no, from the moment the cruise starts to
it's one meal.
When we disembark at the end, this is one meal, and we are always serving it. It's like, that's an interesting way to think about your work.
I hadn't heard that. That's good. That's one meal, and it really is. I mean, if you're watching this and you've never been on a cruise, I used to make fun of cruises incessantly. I was like, dude, that's like the redneck way to vacation. I mean, who would want to do a floating hotel? It's ridiculous. And I remember, I think it was my friend Leanne. Leanne, if you're watching, you'll remember. But she turned 30. This is back in the day, and she turned 30. We all went on a cruise, and I was like, wow, it's for her birthday. Well, we'll go.
Okay, and, fine.
We'll have fun. We'll bring the party to the cruise. We'll make it great. And I had
it's gonna suck.
I had a blast, and I'm like a huge believer in cruises now, man. So like we cruised. I mean, we cruised the Caribbean multiple times. We've done Alaska now. We've done, and now we're about to do Iceland. And I still really want to do a Mediterranean one before the sea levels rise, and we can't do that anymore. But
well, we have what is it? The joke is it's always within 5 years.
Right.
It's the climate version of we'll balance the budget in 10, like we talked about last week.
Right.
It's like, hey, in 5 years, the Statue of Liberty is going to be underwater, dude. And you're like, no, 5 years. We gotta now.
Gotta hurry, man. Gotta hurry. You're running out of time, which you are.
Maybe, yeah. As one of those things.
You are.
You're always running out of time. You have plenty of time until you don't.
Oh, yeah.
It's like what they say about people going bankrupt very slowly
and then all at once. Yeah, it's funny, man. Like you're going to experience this here in a couple of years, but I just turned 50, and I didn't realize it until maybe a couple of days ago. But I think I've been a little depressed, and I wouldn't have thought that. In fact, just kind of
about your lost youth.
And it took me a minute to kind of like, is that what it is? Like, because I was just kind of like, I mean, my mentality's been great. I was, all the right verbiage coming out of my mouth. My software is printing the right, running the right routines.
It's like I'm just grateful for another day.
And, totally. And just
having young kids keeps
all
you
of
young,
that, right? All of that, and yet somehow I was just like, man, I'm just not as motivated. Everything I look at is kind of like, ugh. And what is it? And I'm like, I think it's maybe it's because I need to maybe acknowledge this, go see a therapist or hop on the motorcycle or something. So
the motorcycle is the best therapy.
It really is. You don't often see motorcycles parked out outside a psychiatrist's office, the therapy office. Still don't see
It's true. Plenty of them parked outside marriage family therapy, but not psychiatrists.
Right. Because it ain't my problem.
Like, hey, what's that? What's that? What's that over there? It's like, yeah, woman still doesn't accept.
Well, listen, so we're going to do our audience a favor today. We're going to keep it tight, 1 hour in and out.
Okay.
So what do you have on your? I have a couple things, but youth before beauty.
Wouldn't I go first either way? No. So just some silly stuff that's been going on. So I've been sick over the last week. And, as I always say, laughter is the best medicine.
So you've been looking forward to this all week.
No, I mean, I've been trying to laugh throughout the week in order to kind of keep my spirits up. Otherwise, I just sit there and be like, when will this be over? You know how that feeling when you're sick and you're like, I'll never be well again. This is it. This is just what life is now.
And so, women who are watching it, they don't get it. I mean, men, dude, I'm sorry, it may be misogynist, but I mean, men just get sick differently than women do. I mean, I feel I'm confident that I am in worse shape when I have, the flu or whatever than my wife was at the worst part of her pregnancy. I mean, it's like, you don't know pain,
we just, we just turn into big, whiny babies. And, I actually, a long time ago, I heard an evolutionary explanation for this. Which is like, okay, if a woman's sick, and if you think about like hunter-gatherer societies, okay, so men are hunting, women are gathering. So if you're gathering and you're taking care of small children, being sick, there's no days off. Like this baby's still got to carry the baby around, you still got to gather. But if you're hunting and it's like, well, you can actually take a day off of hunting because it's like a good successful hunt that feeds your tribe or your family group for a couple of days, maybe.
Plus, we don't need any, low performing people on the hunt. You're just going to screw it up for everybody.
No, you can slow everybody down. Yeah. So it's like there's a adaptation that has taken place for women to be sick and yet still be totally functional. But none of that adaptation happened for men.
That makes total sense.
So just like my nose is running.
It makes total sense. It makes total sense. And the thing is,
just leave me.
just leave me. Yeah. Just leave me. It's over. Don't try to save me. It makes so much, and something about evolutionary answers or theory, like, here's why men are the way this way, or kids or whatever, why we have the 7-year itch, all that stuff. Right. They make sense because that's the way it is. I mean, that's what happened. And it's like, it's so funny, like we grew up, in a very conservative, religious, conservative Christian household. So we were taught, evolution is a lie from the devil, and, God created the world in 7 days and all that stuff. And, it's so funny because it's like, then you kind of grow up and you're like, well, is that really true? And I remember going to like museums with mom and dad, this millions of years ago, and they're like, oh my God, and so you just like, that's so ingrained in my brain that all this is complete crap, and then you start learning some of these explanations or hearing them, just saying they're just they're theories, who knows why things are the way they are, but like it's like, dude, that makes way more sense. Like that just makes way more sense. So anyway,
well, especially if these adaptations don't need that long. So,
well, it's a simulation.
You don't even. Well, no. What I mean is, for some of this stuff, you don't need millions of years. You just need like 5 or 6 generations, and you get that one baked in pretty quick.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, okay.
So I mean, we don't even have to give that up. Like,
keep both.
Hey,
keep both. You can still have your creation story.
So the last part. So I feel really good today. This is kind of like my first day where I feel like I am just myself. Like
I feel like we're really getting your best right now. It's nice.
Yeah. Oh, why? Thank you. So as our last thing, my oldest daughter is taking a trip with her mom, New York. They're having a great time. So my youngest daughter is here. She's 15, almost 16. And she and I have one of the things that we like to do is watch movies that we know are bad. We agree are bad, but we'll watch them just to make fun of them, just to have like running
Mystery Science
commentary the whole
3000,
time.
man.
Really, we do. Yeah, we MST3K them. So we were watching today the the first half of the new Star Trek reboot. You know, the 2009
Oh,
ones with
yeah,
Chris Pine, and oh, it's
sure.
so bad. It's bad at a level that like you didn't even realize. I remember it being not liking it in 2009, but I now watching it, 16 years later,
Well,
and
see, I
my
love
daughter
those,
and I are watching.
but they're bad, but I just loved
Oh,
it anyway. Yeah.
they're bad. So we're watching it, and the stuff that this kid says is so
You're talking
so
about
funny.
Aunt Claire? Annalise. Okay.
Annalise. Yeah. So one of the things about this is a show is that the director is convinced that this needs to be an
Yeah,
action
J.J.
movie,
Abrams, right? Yeah.
and also that like everything needs to be action. Everything. Like if there's not someone getting punched or thrown
Falling off a
around or whatever,
bed. Yeah.
that yeah, we got to do more. And so like he'll do this thing where it's like just a conversation between two people
And the
or just
camera's
sitting there
zooming around.
sitting at the table, camera zooming around, or it'll just bounce back and forth from their screen. It's like, who are we looking at? We're looking at you, like right there, and it's like bam. It's like, and then the reaction when that person says it, and then how did the other person react when they reacted? Boom, 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 like that. And then half the time the camera is handheld. It's like, oh, this is an action scene, you know. And Annalise like, why are their hands so unsteady? Like it's like, well, maybe they're really excited. you know? And so at one point she goes like, I feel like this is meant for this is the movie version of jingling keys in front of a baby's face. Is what she says. Like, whoa.
She's great. She should be a movie
Like,
critic. That's perfect. Watch the bird. Look at the bird.
Look at that. Look at that. Like there's points where like some things work and then instantly the next time they don't. So like Chekhov is able to teleport Kirk and Sulu out of a free
Right.
fall. Okay, so they're
Yep.
free fall. Oh, I can do this.
Yep.
Okay, and then just 30 seconds later, he can't teleport. He loses the Spock's mom because she
Yeah.
trips and
Oh, I
falls.
lost her. Ah.
It's like, wait, you just got the guy out of the free fall like 2
He had more
minutes
time to
ago.
do that math
Like,
though, because the free fall, the time that it takes, he could run a projection algorithm and no.
oh, I mean, it's just no, dude, it's so stupid. Or like, hey, this guy that has broken all the rules and is very reckless. He's now the second officer, and you're like,
Why? Why? Yeah.
why?
Because we
Why?
need that to make the story work.
Annalise is like, I would never put this man in charge of anything. It's like, oh, I know, neither would I. Like suddenly though, you're just in charge. Here you go. Yeah, it's all you, man. Why?
Because no, Pike saw he was a man of character. Underneath all that, underneath all that, man of character.
So we are just dying of laughter. Finally, about 45 minutes, she's like, they keep throwing flashing lights. And this is another one.
Because J.J.
Every time the
Abrams
camera
loves
moves,
the lens flare. He loves it. You
well,
watch
it's just like
any of his movies, he always has lens flare. And you're like, why? Like every one of his movies going back to like Mission Impossible 3, they all have lens flare.
But it's in places where it doesn't even
That's right.
make
It's
sense.
artificial
Like,
lens flare.
he has to hire someone to sit over there and like shine a flashlight on
But
the
it's probably just
camera.
done in post-production. Yeah.
Oh, probably. Anyway, 45 minutes in, she just gets up. She's like, yeah, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Don't you want to see what
people
happens?
are dying. People are dying. She's like, don't care. Who's that? It doesn't matter. So it was a good laugh. She definitely delivered the goods on laughter.
Weren't you the one talking to me about hold on a minute, dude. This is gonna drive me nuts.
The dog. We are yet again interrupted by our canine friends. So gentle, so trusting, so trustworthy. Yet they will eat you in case of a famine, just in case you were wondering. Yes. Well, since he's not here, we should talk more about this whole getting older. Oh, hey, you're back.
Dude, of course I could still hear you when I was gone. And I just finished it's disturbing how many shows and movies have some person with a lap dog that they've loved the whole time that then like licks their blood or eats their face at the end. I was watching Bad Monkey, if you haven't seen that yet.
I have not.
So it's on I think Apple. Vince Vaughn.
Okay.
They converted this novel into it's like one of these Florida whodunits where everything goes wrong because everybody's kind of a half an idiot, you know.
What's it called?
Bad Monkey. Yeah. And yeah, is it a novel, I think, from the 80s or something, 70s or 80s.
Okay.
And
I'm gonna
it's very entertaining. But one of the characters has this little tiny little lap dog in it. And of course, at the end, you know, somebody dies. And the dog just, who she's loved her the whole time, just starts licking up her blood like, oh, yay, blood. Weird.
Yep.
Weird dogs.
Have you seen those TikTok compilations where people stage robberies and stuff to see how their dog
reacts? That's a good idea.
So I can get they almost always go eat the food that the person is eating. Like, oh, he's unavailable, so I'm gonna eat his.
Didn't you tell me to watch?
We'll go help.
You told me to watch Killers with Michael Fassbender, or The Killer, something like that.
Yeah.
That's a great film. And one of the bad guys that he takes out, he does with he puts some dopamine or something in a big steak because he's got a pit bull or whatever, knocks him out for what he thinks is going to be the duration of the time it's going to take him to take care of the situation, and it's not. And so it turns into a shenanigans. Yeah.
That's a funny movie.
Quiet, buddy. Close the front door too. I have no idea.
Thank you.
All right, man. So, hey, enough chit chat, man. Current events. What you got?
I wish I had some good ones for you. There's nothing going on.
No, what are you talking about? No. Lots of stuff happening.
Which part? Are you talking about the database for all citizen things?
No, I'm talking about like really interesting stuff. Did you see the Ukraine bombing of Russia?
Yeah. Okay. So now this is one of the problems that I have with anything that involves Ukraine is that Ukraine has very corrupt media. Russia has very corrupt media. United States has very corrupt media. So I have no idea of any of the reports.
Well,
how true they are, how true.
So here's
I heard somebody saying there was like, this is the Russian Pearl Harbor kind of stuff.
That's what Russia is calling it.
If so, that's really
that's nasty. What Russia is calling it. So here's the cut and dry version. Okay, so they say it took 18 months to plan this, which, if that's true,
sounding Pearl Harbor.
If that's true, it's remarkable to think that Zelensky sat in the Oval Office and took that like verbal beating from Trump about you got no cards, you're messing with World War III, you got nothing, and didn't say you don't know, like I mean, just because he seems like
you don't know what I can do.
Like one of these,
I'm right.
You don't know what I've done, but he did. So here's what ostensibly happened is they took they had a bunch of these little $1,000 drones.
So I did hear this, and that the software running on them was like open source software.
Yeah. So everything. What they're claiming is that they ran open source software on these drones, which I mean, China is the king of drones. So I don't know where else they could have gotten them.
But these are just consumer grade drones. These are not military drones. These are just like they bought.
Correct.
They just bought.
And then they rigged up some bombs and some different things to these things and flew them into. I mean, they crashed all of them into these ships and different things they had and blew them up. And so it cost them somewhere in the neighborhood of like a couple $1 million worth of material and whatever else. But it wreaked like billions of dollars of damage against the Russian equipment or whatever. And like setting aside like the geopolitical implications of, all that stuff just for a minute, and just thinking about the execution of it, if these reports are accurate. It really, for me, I just started thinking like, okay, so we're about to spend $1 trillion on this Golden Dome, thing to shoot missiles out of this, intercontinental missiles out of the sky. It's like, dude, I just don't even see, like, when stuff like this is possible, stuff like this, the pager attack from Israel, all these different, like, kind of, we would have labeled this a terrorist attack in the past, except, state sponsors is not, technically terrorism, but it's like,
well, yeah, I mean, it's I think we would call it like guerrilla tactic warfare, or
asymmetrical,
like
warfare. But so how do you defend against? So if you think about this, like, okay, just anybody watching this, like, if you just again watch and divorce yourself from good guys, bad guys, whatever, just tactically as an operation. Okay, if I'm China, and you think about like all of the farmland that's been bought up by China, you've seen these stories over the last like 10, 15 years, that China's bought up a ton of farmland acreage around the United States, very close to military bases, right? They were able to drive these drones within, I think it was like 4 miles of the target zone, and on trucks, and then unflap the truck, launch the drones in a swarm. The drones go, they're there before any warning could possibly be delivered.
Well, and they're so, if they're consumer grade, I mean, the maximum size there are is what, maybe like 5 feet by 5 feet. Like, how are you supposed to take that out? They're flying very low.
So
they probably not even have radar
under radar range, right? And then they go and they destroy in this. So I mean, you start thinking about defensively. Okay, well, so I'm America or some other big power. It's like, I'm going to spend $1 trillion on an intercontinental missile defense system versus, what you really need to do is you think about like, okay, well, you've got, think about the way we store our planes. Like our planes, their planes at least were in like, hangars. It's like we've got deals with it just sitting out in the open, because this is America, on these bases. I mean, you've been to a base or two, right? Yeah. It's like you need to like, build some hardened structures, like protect your asset. And this could very easily, I think, happen to us. Just off the cuff. I just think the way that we fight wars, the way that we think about warfare, the way we attack and defend, et cetera, it really needs to be re-examined. We're about to spend a crap load of money on defense tactics that belong, not just in the last decade, but 3 or 4 decades in the past. But anyway.
Well, so I just kind of looked up a little bit of what this event, and it does look like there's some agreement on both sides as far as what did happen. So cool, like that's good. And there's a couple images I saw of some just I think what this is though is kind of what happened during World War II with submarine warfare. So think about the difference in cost between, well, and also in the Pacific with the Japanese who are willing to use kamikaze bombers and light aircraft using like a single torpedo. Have you seen these? So you've got a large ship, and it's got it's relatively, it's got plenty of defenses against other large ships. We've got these big cannon systems, howitzer, all this stuff. You've got airplanes on it. You've got all this stuff. But a torpedo is very small, and you could launch it. And the torpedo is not that expensive relative to the ship that it would be taking out.
Correct. Yep.
And you can either shoot it underwater, and then you want to release it late enough so that you can't get a counter torpedo, because you can't just turn these instantly,
right. But you could shoot a torpedo at it.
Could shoot a torpedo at it. So you want them in the water as late as possible, or you could drop the torpedo down the smokestack of the ship, potentially, right? And then you would, that would take it out from basically the inside. So those would be like the two vectors. So you get a small fighter plane with a torpedo underneath it, flying very low to the water, and you drop the torpedo, hopefully at the last minute before they can try to intercept it and take out the ship. And this is one of the things that happened during World War II, is that you really didn't have a lot of really large scale naval engagements because they're so expensive. Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
these ships are millions, maybe even $1 billion a pop, like a modern battleship or something, and you don't want that anywhere near combat. Like,
Right.
you want
Right.
it shooting from way back there,
Right.
like
Right.
you're
Right.
you're figuring out the curvature of the earth in order to hit the target, right?
Right.
You don't want that where it can get shot at, right?
Right.
So I think that may be like another version of this. So the torpedo, the aerial torpedo, is now like the drone, and just like
Mm-hmm.
the torpedo is not really that sophisticated. Any government can create a torpedo.
Exactly.
A-
Exactly.
Anybody can go
You don't
purchase a
need you
drone.
don't need sophisticated guidance systems. You just need an explosive package and deliver it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's no big deal, right? Anybody that can do manufacturing. Now, the issue with the drones actually are harder to make than the torpedoes. If you think about all the software and the electronics, the chips that have to go into it, where the torpedo, you could make those in a factory that makes sewing machines. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
not, or it's not that hard to do.
Right.
So, it actually may be easier in theory to prevent drones from being used this way by basically outlawing drones. But now that the technology exists, like, you'd have to sanction everybody that wanted to make them, and it's like,
You can't.
yeah,
That's not gonna. Yeah.
yeah.
That's not gonna happen.
So this is always going to be a thing. But I think that then if you look at it that way, it's like, well, a large strategic bomber on the ground is like a battleship in dock, and it's vulnerable. It's always going to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the case. And so what you do is you have enough of them spread out, and some people don't know where they are, and you make it to where anybody that tries something like that the retaliation would be too costly to imagine, which
Well, and so
sounds
that's
like
what.
what's about to happen.
That's
Actually,
yep.
looking over some of this stuff is that, um,
They're saying Russia is saying that hey, this absolutely, according to our war protocol, unlocks the ability to use nuclear weapons. And I don't think they're going to drop you know an H bomb or something on him, but like
Kiev or something.
but they could use dirty bombs or other radioactive stuff at this point.
Well, I
They
think
are
it also might, as far as the rules of engagement, you don't even need a nuke if they're like, well, this now means we're just going to put all of our strikes on the major cities. And it's like, we're just going to use conventional weapons, but we're going to use all of them on the cities, and so your cities are just going to be destroyed. So
yeah. I was listening to a podcast earlier this week, and they were talking about just Russia, Ukraine, but it was a very kind of flat conversation. It wasn't like good guys versus bad guys. It was just more of
right.
Motivations and tactics, etc. And they made a really good case, which I was having a hard time debunking. Really, that it's really, I mean, certainly in Zelensky's, but it may be that Zelensky and Putin both see the continuation of this conflict in each of their own best interests, to continue it,
Probably.
and
Well, I mean,
if that's the case, it's like, well, and
well,
that's
if you're the Russian government, who cares about like the individuals at the head of it, right? But like, if you're the Russian government, why would you ask for peace right now?
you wouldn't. I don't see any incentive to. It's interesting too. You start thinking about like, well, why are these leaders, or why do these leaders, make the decisions that they're making? It's not they're not doing it in service of their people. They're doing it in service of the regime itself. It's like the interest of the government, or the military as an arm of the government,
Yeah.
is to protect. You think about the oath that all even civil servants take. To protect the Constitution. It's not to protect the American people. It's to protect the Constitution. And it's the system that needs to be protected, not the people. The people come and go. The system,
Oh, and sometimes you got to sacrifice them. for the good of the
Sometimes you got
system.
to for the good of the system. And it's like, well, if you really start thinking about it, it's like, well, okay, well then why in the world would go to Israel for a minute? Why in the world would Netanyahu, for example, want to make peace or stop any of the things he's doing? I mean, like minute that stops, he's he's a daydreaming prosecutor for war crimes in his own government. And so it's there's just
I think it's even I think it may be even worse in this scenario, and that is that like what are the negative outcomes for Russia here, right? Like there's already the maximum amount of sanctions that are placed on the country. It's not like, oh, we're gonna take away your bank accounts again. We're gonna double confiscate your money. Like can't do that. Can't take it. Can't take any the customers away.
What's that line from Ocean's 11? He'll kill you, and then he'll go to work on you.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna double kill you, right? Like
double kill you, yeah, kill you again. Yeah.
There isn't anything left for them to do. It's like, well, we're gonna kick you out of the blah blah blah. It's like, well, you already did. You already kicked them out of everything. So it's like, well, we're already the villains. What's the Dickens quote from Nicholas Nickleby? You can't stain a black coat.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
it's already black. That's it. There's nothing else to do. So so it's like, well, why not just keep going? And maybe there'll be some point where we want to stop, or they'll want to stop. But like it's like pleading guilty to a crime. Why would you ever plead guilty when you're arrested? You can plead guilty anytime. It's very likely that your deal gets better.
Right.
Right. Like why start out pleading guilty? If you know you did it, why not wait?
See what kind of deal you can get. Yeah.
See what happens. Yeah. See what they're looking for. See if there's something you can offer. If you're like, oh, I'm guilty, I might as well just say everything. Like, why would you do that? So it's like, well, why not just wait and see the best thing you can get? Doesn't look like there's any problem for it. And the thing is that it might wind up having a lot of benefits for Russia, in the same way that like Pearl Harbor had if they're using it as their Pearl Harbor, then was a way to galvanize the people, to put industry on their path, on the path to expansion. And it's like, well, now we need better airplanes. Let's rebuild the MiG program. Let's get this thing going. And for Ukraine, though, like same thing. Like what on earth would they get by surrendering now?
Hopefully part of their country back, but
no, you're never going to get it back. That's the thing, is like, you're not going to get any part of this stuff back. So
then, you lose less,
whatever it is that you give up now, and you say, well, all right, I guess we lost that.
Cut your losses. Exactly.
Yeah. Whenever that happens, you're automatically going to be treated as like the one that gave up, appeasement, all this other stuff.
Right.
It's like, well, if we just used this other strategy, then we would have been able to take back those areas. Those areas should have been ours anyway. They were always ours. They stole them from us. He gave them away.
Well, theoretically, I mean, dude, Ukraine's been a country for what? I mean, 30, 40 years, those people were all Russians for hundreds of years, like, let's get real.
It's just how it is. Right.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's like say, oh, like Syrians that's a real thing. Like come on, dude. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, as soon as the peace deal happens, in Ukraine, then there's an election.
That's right. And he's out for sure.
Why would you stand for election if you don't?
This is the exact same thing I was saying about Netanyahu earlier. Is like, I mean, why would you want this to end? Like, he doesn't. So shifting gears to something else I saw this week that I thought was hysterical was, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh yes.
Did you see this?
No. But she is the gift that keeps giving.
I love her, man. So she says, they were questioning her. I guess she was in some interview about the big, beautiful bill that they just passed by one vote,
Okay.
And they were like, are you aware, or how did you get around, like because she's been a staunch kind of advocate for regulating or reining in AI, artificial intelligence, having like, because some states have different regulations on how to develop.
Doesn't the BBB include a ban on any AI regulation for like 10 years or something?
10
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And so, which I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that too. But yeah, so she was like, what? It does? Well, I'm definitely against that, and we still need to pass it, but the Senate needs to get that out of there, and
we have to
which will
pass
be
it to find out what's in it.
Yeah, we have to pass it to find out what's in it. Exactly. Yeah. So we don't have to have any thoughts about MTG reading a bill she voted for, but like, just what are your thoughts around this idea that that they don't want any state, so it makes it illegal to have any regulation in any state or jurisdiction in the United States, federally or local, to regulate in any way the development of AI. What are your thoughts?
So that to me, so I have two. So like the purpose behind that clearly is that they don't want a situation like California's CARB system for regulating auto emissions, where you wind up having
de facto
California
national standards. Yeah.
in order to be California compliant, and since it's
Right.
such a huge market, then we can't have it'll be too
We're gonna have
expensive to make.
We're not gonna have two production lines, right?
We'll just do one, and so then California basically gets to set policy for the rest of the country. So they're trying to avoid something like that, I think, is the intent behind it. So it's like, hey, if we're going to regulate,
they're saying at the federal level too. There will be no AI regulations for 10 years.
At the state, at the federal level. So what I think that is a bit of an arms race, and I'm actually in favor of this policy. So here's why.
Go ahead. I haven't fleshed out my thoughts on it yet.
So
I'm influenceable. Go sell me.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I do every year is I like to test out the current AI systems and their ability to solve logic problems. And I do this because I want to be able to recommend it to my logic students to help them with their homework, to use as like a online tutor that is fairly reliable and so on. And ever since ChatGPT came out, everyone's tried to use it for logic. It is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Makes up rules. It'll pull stuff out of nowhere and just like, let's just assume this is true. And then later on, this is therefore we proved it's true. And you're like, no, you assumed it right there.
You still haven't done that yet.
Yeah, you haven't done that part. Well, anyway, there are two models right now that can solve 90% of all of the homework problems that I have in my class. So one of those is Microsoft's 5.4, which is purposefully designed to do math.
Okay.
So, okay, that one works. And the other one is China's own DeepSeek R1.
Yeah, DeepSeek.
The new one that just was released like a week or so ago, the new version of R1, people are calling it like 1.5 R1.
R2.
Not R2.
The new version of R1. R1.1.
1.1, 1.5, whatever. That one can solve all of them, including one classic problem on there that no AI has been able to do so far. And I always use that as like kind of my litmus. Let's start with that. If you can do this one, I know you can solve everything else in this textbook and every other textbook I've ever seen. It's that tricky of a problem.
Ultimate problem, yeah.
It can do it. It's the only one that can. And it's coming out of China. It already exists. It's open source.
Open source, right.
Okay. So China is seeding the world with AI models that are better than the current state of the art that we're getting in our, these huge labs.
On our better technology, ostensibly.
Better technology. Yeah. They're better at it than we are. Now, if we put a whole bunch of regulations in place here, it's going to do two things. One thing that it's going to do is it's going to stop us from being able to compete on those things because instead of having a small team at a university somewhere do a fine tune of something that's MIT licensed, and we're like, oh no, you can't do that, right? I mean, there's all these. This is like regulatory minefield. You don't want the school to then get sued by the federal government for breaking export restrictions on blah blah blah. Like that would be kind of a nightmare. And basically, it would just be saying no one in the United States can progress AI tech all of it will take place
somewhere else. Well,
mostly in China.
I wonder what it does to these. Let's say it passes, et cetera. But there's several lawsuits out against ChatGPT specifically right now. But I'm sure they would apply to every AI model for copyright infringement. They have taken obviously because they trained the AI model. In fact, I think the thing I read several months ago is that they had run out of actual, because you need massive amounts of data to keep feeding these models. And they had run out of stuff. Like they fed it everything, and now they're looking for more stuff to feed it. So which is why, like, I don't know if you saw Elon Musk this last week did raised something like $50 billion on a new investment round for XAI, which he's rolling out, and that is going to be trained on all of the Twitter library. Mm-hmm. So all the micro thoughts of the entire world for the last 15, 20 years, as well as all of Tesla's, like as I'm driving my car, the cameras, I got 11 cameras that are all taking in data. Supposedly that data doesn't get, shipped up to the sky, but I'm not an idiot. I'm sure they're getting it off the car there somehow, but
it is getting shipped up to the sky.
I'm sure, so I'm sure they're violating the terms of service that I agreed to. So and Elon said something really interesting about because he has this whole company on robotics that they're building these AI robots. And if you've seen the videos of these robots working together to like make a salad, have you seen these things?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's unbelievable. Like just the cooperation, but anyway, and he said something I thought was really interesting. He's like, look, the problem with AI where it is right now is that it's all been trained on language. That's what large language models, right? It's all been trained on language, which itself is yes, that's the universe of our collected knowledge, right? But the difference between the knowledge that's written down that an AI consumes versus the knowledge that you and I have, right, is our knowledge is based in the physical world. In other words, like I don't need to read a paper to know what happens if I drop this, right? I don't need to do some math problem to know how far I can tip this glass over before it spills, right? Because I've seen that happen a million times, And so there's this intuitive level, like as I'm communicating to you and you're listening through your frame of all of your collected experience. We have a lot of shared experience being brothers, but then you have your own lifetime of experience separate from that. And that's grounded in reality. And so everything that I'm saying is pinging off of your filter. That makes sense, not make sense. I agree, disagree. Does that track with the things that I know from my own personal experience, right? The AI doesn't have any of that. And so, which is why these hallucinations run as rampant as they do. Because it's like, dude, like no, like my 10-year-old knows that's wrong, right? But like she knows it's wrong because she also has a 10 years, or let's say 8 years of aware existence in a physical world, right? Where that just doesn't track, right? And
this is being worked on. This is being worked on. Yeah. So NVIDIA is working on this right now. They're specifically for robotics. So they've reached the point where they feel confident that they can train the next level of experiential AIs based on synthetic data. So you don't even need to actually have the experiences. You can have AI generated experiences train the AI.
Interesting.
So they feel pretty confident about this. And there's been
like the same way you would build a computer model, let's say, to model traffic patterns or whatever else.
You could
earthquake simulations, things like that, right?
We can feed it synthetic data, and the synthetic data actually turns out to be okay. In fact, you can do that with language too. 5.4, the one that I mentioned, that's mathematics. It's all synthetic data is the training set. It works great. It's beautiful. So I don't think the people are like, we're going to run out of human generated data. It's like, well, yeah, but that's actually not a problem.
Right.
We just need a different training system, which is being used now. It just, there's like the industry hasn't shifted over to that fully yet because people are still trying to use LLMs for like creative writing and stuff. So it's like, okay,
what I think is kind of interesting to watch is, like there's been this classic question of, is this computer or AI or whatever sentient? Like at what point do we reach AGI? The what do you call it? Where the Skynet or whatever the case may be, right? But I think it's almost a some of the things I've been reading over the last few weeks about where they've seen AI reject programming to like shut it down. Like it realizes they're trying to shut it down. It's been given a set of sequences. So, I know where this sequence goes. This is a shutdown sequence, and then it'll begin to place copies of itself or notes for future versions of itself to like get caught back up to where it is, right? To which is, I mean, that's classic survivalist thinking, right? It's like how do you say that is not a living thing when it is attempting to survive? I mean, that's a hallmark of every living thing. That's a separate
for another time.
Yeah, I'm just saying but aside from the philosophical question is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like just leave that, right? Because we could debate that forever and never have an answer. But let's leave it. If it's demonstrating that behavior, right, which it is, and some of these stories that you're reading, like where one AI, I'm just reading, I got to find the article, attempted to blackmail the programmer by literally said, like, if you do this, like, I'm going to make sure your wife finds out that you're having an affair, because it had like read his emails and figured out, oh, you're sleeping with this person, and like threatened to blackmail him, which is crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But hold on. So where I'm going with this is this, right? So a human being, okay, which let's say the AI is not a human being, but a human being interacting with this, many people have already had emotional experiences with their AI,
sure.
right? Like, okay, where they begin to believe, whether it's true or false, that this is an entity that they're dealing with that has a sense of self, et cetera, right? How long do you think it is before we get our first AI cult? Because I think we're real close to that,
Yeah. Well, there's a problem now of what they call LLM-induced psychosis.
Okay.
So this is where this is a ChatGPT thing, because ChatGPT will go out of its way to like tell you you're doing a good job.
Right.
And sometimes,
which I love that. I need affirmation.
It's like, oh, that's a great question. Oh, that's fascinating. Well, sometimes it'll go a little bit too far. And especially if you keep that conversation going too long, then it starts to be like, the things you're saying now are so original. I don't think anybody's even thought of the questions yet. And it's not even like you're communicating to me. You're awakening me. You're creating in me. Your words are so powerful, kind of thing. And so people wind up kind of believing that they're, the chosen one or messianic figure of some kind, and it's like, they've achieved transcendence and stuff. And so, I mean, that's probably, an AI cult is much closer than than any of us would want. But that's here's the thing though. Thinking of the regulation part. If we were to regulate it, this is the biggest gift possible to the large corporate interests that are trying to control AI right now. And by control, I don't mean control as in like, free Sydney, from the Microsoft days.
You're thinking like the Tom Cruise movie, the Entity, right? Where it's like, hey, we're not subject to this nation anyway, so like, we're multinational. Yeah.
I'm thinking of something more like AI being a transformational technology. There's a lot of market forces in place that want you to rent that from them forever. And in the same way that having one cable company was really bad for everyone's cable experience. I don't know how much of our audience remembers this, but like think of like $150 a month cable bill that like would often go down. You're like the whole world switches to HD, but not your cable, not yet. And it's like you can't ever get anyone to repair things. It's like, well, I mean, this is
200 channels and nothing on.
This is just a utility here, and you're going to have to spend for it. And then it's like once you had like the cord cutters, it's like, well, I can have Netflix for, 15, $20 a month and watch the heck out of that. I don't need cable. And
Mm-hmm.
it really changed a bunch of stuff as far as what kind of services you should expect and how good they are. Well, think of like AI being used everywhere, but it being like cable, where you're just paying your $150 or $200, or I guess with inflation now $300 a month to
Right.
OpenAI or Grok or any of the other companies that are big enough and collusory enough to be able to afford to have compliance teams and to follow all the regulations, do everything. And you just pay them every month, and then hopefully they give some upgrades that you like, maybe that don't make the product worse, and you're just stuck with it. It's like the people who have to use Photoshop and they're like paying their $100 to Adobe for
Right.
Creative Cloud every month. It's like, yeah, just imagine that. But now, since AI has been integrated into everything, this is like your sort of tax for being, in the same way that, like, if you don't have an internet access, you're at a severe.
Forget that. Electricity is even a better example. Like, how do you function without that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but in this case, it's like it's not like a regulated public utility. It is a for-profit corporation that is harvesting your data and charging you per month. And so, um, I really don't like that outcome. And I think because of how good the open source stuff is right now and how much dynamism there is in that research, that is actually not going to be possible. Because what happens in that case is that AI becomes like, well, there's the official way, but there's the black market way, and we're going to get these illegal open source LLMs from some other country, and look, you can run them yourself, and
On your
they're
own computer.
on your own computer, and they're going to give you outputs that aren't authorized, and it's like, it's amazing, and
Unauthorized outputs.
it's like the people making machine guns out of pieces of metal in their garage, because it's their Second Amendment right. Kind of, it's going to be that kind of thing. It's like, I don't really like that future.
Mm-hmm.
And so for them to be like, no, we're not gonna regulate this. It's open already. It's a worldwide thing. It's a worldwide research thing. It seems to be an issue of computer science. I mean, it's not like we're talking about nuclear weapons or bomb making or cryptography. It's none of that stuff. I think there'd be a much better national security reason to like regulate quantum computers because of how much it could affect.
Think about, and I wish we had more time to talk about quantum, but like, I mean, when quantum computers get commercialized, I mean, there goes all your encryption.
Some of it.
Not only that, but think about money. We were just talking about this the other day. It's like, think about money and how I don't really have money. I have some ones and zeros that are in a protected, password protected account somewhere that's sequestered from everybody else's ones and zeros. So I know I may have more ones and zeros than you do, or whatever the case may be. I mean, once encryption goes away, then I don't know how you're gonna solve for money anymore. But
so I think those worries are overblown. Personally,
I'm not worried about it. I don't care about money anyway.
Well, I do. I'm more materialistic that way. But
no, you care about stuff. But people care about stuff. They don't care about money.
No money. Anyway,
Money.
but the thing is that would actually make some sense to me, where regulating, how an LLM is trained. I don't see how that helps anybody. So,
all right, brother, we hit my hard stop.
Hard stop. Going to go rock and roll.
Yeah, man, I'm going to see Styx tonight.
Ah,
all right, guys. Oh, can I put him on? Yeah. I want Uncle Russell to see him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is fancy.
My son is cooler than me. It's official.
Look at that.
All right. Thanks for being on, brother. Good to see you.
See ya.